Happy November, everyone. I hope everyone had a fun and safe Halloween last night. In today's episode, we'll cover the massive miss from NonFarm Payrolls, Bitcoin's monthly projections, why everyone is stupid and capital rotation in crypto is a must, and how normal is it for Bitcoin to dump prior to an election. All this and much more coming in today's exciting episode of the Crypto Market Update. Let's get cracking. All right, a new month is upon us, so that does mean a peek at the Bitcoin monthly chart, which we will do right now. And so let's break down the key points on the Bitcoin monthly chart. We did close the monthly chart, the monthly candle on Bitstamp at a closing price of 70,231. So in my opinion, and to many other analysts that I've seen out there who I agree with, this is key. Closing the monthly above 70,000, so healthy, so strong. Also, I want to point out that now the month closing in September printed hidden bullish divergence. All right, this is all very healthy. Now, overall, if we take a look at this range that we are trading in, we can see that we came down and tested support at the bottom of the fast guppy range. So overall, looking very healthy, looking very strong. Nothing too crazy about this, just a nice healthy retracement. I understand that it was quite difficult to sit through as Bitcoin holders, as Bitcoin believers, as we saw price pull back in such a devastating to us fashion. But it's important to put things in perspective, to see how far we've come as a community, to see how far Bitcoin has come as a currency. I mean, this is all quite amazing. We are still in a bullish trend per the Gann swing indicator. Invalidation not until we reach all the way down to 40,705. But of course, I don't use the monthly in this way. I use the weekly, as you guys are want to know. The weekly is really my determiner of trend. But all in all, this is looking very healthy. I mean, very healthy indeed. We look at our Bollinger Bands, we can see that we just peaked above the upper range of the Bollinger Band when we hit the all-time high in March. We've pulled back, found support above the mid-range, and now we are going for another attempt. So overall, I think the monthly looks very healthy, looks very good. All right, looking at our weekly time frame, we can see we still have a relatively strong weekly candle. All right, we've made an attempt for the top. Depending on how this weekly candle closes here in 2 days, this might be looking like a reversal candle, but I want to take that into context of the monthly closing above 70K. We are still trading above this strong level of VRVP support. So a lot of volume traded at these price levels, And I do want to account the significance of the movement from 52,000 all the way up to almost $74,000. So we haven't given up on the gains made yet. We do have the potential to push forward. This is still a positive weekly candle so far. Life is good. Taking a look at our Bollinger Bands, we can see that we wicked above the upper level of the Bollinger Band. So again, we looked at those retracement levels based on VRVP, based on Guppy, all of those areas that we looked at earlier, if we are going to have a more pronounced pullback prior to a potential breakout. And again, we'll cover this in a little bit on the daily analysis, how this is really not too off cycle from what we've seen in previous election cycles as well. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We are still in a bullish weekly trend per the Gann swing high-low indicator, and we flipped bullish on the 14th of October. And as far as our guppies are concerned, we came down and tested the most critical level of support down here at the lower boundary of the guppies, down here around the $51,000 mark, hitting that 55 weekly exponential moving average, and now pushing up. We still have the fast guppy bands above the slow guppy bands. Overall, the trend is good, guys. Think long term. All right, now we're going to move down to the daily time frame. Look for a little bit more activity here. We do, of course, have a down candle today. All right. We are currently trading at about $69,063. 69,063. No cents. We're not going to get into the pennies here. All right. Let's just zoom in here a little bit. DPMO is still confirming an uptrend. All right. Time transformation has given us a bearish cross. Okay. And BBWP, again, we got that critical low volatility here on the 27th and the 26th and the 27th. And again, just breaking out in the direction of that following a volatility compression, which is a great strategy for trading. We can see here that similar to the monthly, similar to the weekly, we rejected from the upper boundary of the Bollinger Band. We are coming down to retest mid-range so far. We are still in a bullish trend per the Gann swing high-low. Invalidation coming in around 66,580. And looking at our guppies, we can see that we are currently coming down to test for support, potentially, the lower boundary of the fast guppy range, similar to what we're seeing on what we saw on the monthly, So life is good. So right here, we're kind of at the pullback area. If we are going to have a more pronounced pullback, then we are looking to the mid 60,000s here, with the 55 daily EMA coming in around 64,000, 65,000. Excuse me, not 64,000, 65,000, coming in at about 64,750. So the upper 64,000s, up 65,000. 4-hour time frame, we are attempting to break down below the slow guppy boundary on the 4-hour time frame. Again, remember the pattern that we've usually pointed out. If we do see rejections, what we typically see is closing below the guppy boundary. And what happens following that is then we do get one more rally, and that is the rally that you typically want to sell to move down. So if we do see that behavior, if we do end up closing below here on the 4-hour basis, which look, we're going to, we're only 10 minutes away, then that is the trade setup that I would be looking for on the short term. Keep in mind, we have time transformation almost oversold as well. So again, I think that scenario that I painted is very likely if we are going to get this closed and if we don't rally within the next 5 minutes, that we then see a movement up here to about 70,000 to 70,500, and then potentially that movement down to that lower boundary if we are going to go that low. Volatility is almost peaked as well. Volatility is quite high right here. So again, all of those would come together with confluence to give us those ideas. But I want to point something else out too, and less to do with technical analysis and more to do with cyclicity. We have a very important catalyst on the horizon in just 4 short days, the US presidential election of 2024. And de-risking into a presidential election is something we've seen before in both 2016 and 2020. In both previous elections, in the days leading up to the election, Bitcoin was either flat or dumped. So let's just rewind the clock and go back in time and look at what price looked like. Oh, sorry, this is the 4-hour time frame. Not going to see it on this time frame. Sorry, I've marked up my daily chart for this purpose. All right, so let's go back in time and see what price was looking at like on those days. We'll start off with 2016. And in both these situations, ladies and gentlemen, we were in the middle of an overall bull market rally. All right, we were in the middle of an overall bull market rally. So in 2016, as we can see, this is Halloween. So we actually pump up November 1st, November 2nd, and then we have a massive dump November 3rd in the 2 days leading up to the election, 2 days prior to the election, November 4th, and on election day, completely flat, and then price overall with some volatility continues to break to the upside. So we do have a little bit of a pump, but a massive dump in the days leading up to the election, culminating in this continued bull market, which ultimately peaked around $20,000. All right, moving forward in time, another 4 years to the 2020 presidential election. Similar situation, all right? We have Bitcoin flat leading up into the days of the election. And then we can see here, this is election day. And on the announcement of the election, that is when price started to pump. All right, so this wasn't a pump up into the election. This was election day. So as we can see here, we were flat with a little bit of price pushing up. So overall, I'm not seeing what we're seeing in current price to be far different from previous cycles. All right, we just saw we had a massive dump in 2016, and in 2020 we were mostly flat, and then starting to fire off as soon as the election results came in. That of course occurred that evening. So in both situations, we were at or near previous all-time highs as well. And again, in the middle of a bull market rally, which in both situations continued on very powerfully. Both in 2016 and in 2017, we continued to rally on to a new all-time high, and significant new all-time high. So I am not seeing anything massively different in our current setup. A little bit of a pullback doesn't bother me too much. And again, as a trader, I could be wrong in the short term, but I know that in the medium to long term, my conviction is well placed. All right, Bitcoin will be higher prices, and I do believe that we are going to get the continuation of this bull market and a break into the price discovery euphoria phase, as I've said, and you know, prove me wrong. All right, taking a look at our market stats here. Let's start off with Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is, of course, continuing to trend up with a little bit of a pullback here. Bitcoin dominance currently at 60%. Having fallen yesterday, let's see here, having fallen yesterday from about 60.23%, as we talked about. So a little bit of a dominance loss from Bitcoin, and of course, most of that probably going into USDT. Looking at Ethereum dominance continues to be in an overall downtrend. Ethereum dominance currently sitting at about 13.26%, and that is actually a gain from yesterday. We were a little bit lower than that, about 13.15%. Solana dominance is flat, but again, you can see here that we're kind of ranging. Solana dominance was attempting to make a break here, having a nice rally here, but over the last week or so, dominance on Solana has been declining. Looking at altcoin dominance is currently sitting at 16.08%, and that is up from 16.04% yesterday. So we do see a little bit of money going into the altcoins today. And again, looking at our stablecoin dominance, we can see that stablecoin dominance is currently sitting at 7.22%, and that is an increase from yesterday at 7.15%. So Bitcoin shedding a little bit of market share today, and we're seeing those funds flow mainly into stablecoin dominance, but a little bit into Ethereum and altcoins as well. So this is pretty good. This is potentially a good early warning sign for continuing to be diligent about looking for your altcoin portfolio for the upcoming next phase of the market. Quick update on our Minx strategy for Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame. Minx did give us a fresh 1 hour short signal about 2 hours ago at a closing price of 68,941. We are in the green on that trade so far. Similar trade was also issued for Ethereum. Both of these signals were posted in my Discord. So here is the entry signal for Ethereum. Again, in the red, or excuse me, in the green on this trade as well, but only slightly. Bitcoin is moving much better for us so far. But again, these trades were posted in the Discord. So make sure to hop in that free Discord if you want to see the results of my strategies. As far as time transformation strategy goes, we didn't get much today. We do see that on Bitcoin, the hourly BBWP is quite high. Generally indicating an exhaustion of trend or a potential reversal, which does play into and strengthen my bigger picture idea of price closing below the 4 hour range of guppies and then rallying for a lower high before a movement down. Even though I would just love to be like, oh no, of course we're going to break out today. Again, I have to just recount and tell you guys what my strategy tells me, and then also just be realistic about what I see on the charts as a trader. Every day, more information comes in. If we're not willing to revise our ideas and opinions and hold, I guess stick to our guns or whatever that means. When it comes to analysis, you have to be willing to interpret new data. All right, same thing. We do see Ethereum volatility moderately high. So again, just not getting the clearer technicals. I think Bitcoin is the better one to follow here. That we are going to see that slight push down, lower high, moving to the downside would be most likely what we're going to see if that is how the market's going to unfold. Otherwise, we'll just blast right to the upside. But I'm feeling that we're not going to get any kind of decisive movement until after the election. We've seen that big de-risking. Someone did a lot of market selling just today on Binance. So clearly we're seeing individuals, or large individuals at least, de-risk in anticipation of the election. Hey guys, just a quick reminder that if you're looking for an exchange that's friendly to North Americans, that doesn't require KYC or VPN, offers up to 200x leverage on USDT and coin margin futures with 0% spot trading fees, come trade with me over at ByDFi, official exchange partner of my channel. You can use the link down in the description to support my content, access a great trading interface with all the coins you could want, and take advantage of any exclusive offers for my community members coming up. Thank you so much for supporting my work. And now back to the crypto. We have new macro data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the form of updated non-farm payrolls, unemployment, and average hourly earnings. Now, the big story here is how hard we whiffed on non-farm payrolls. Now, non-farm payrolls are one of the most important economic indicators, as they tell us how many new jobs have been created in a given month. This does exclude sectors like farming and government jobs, and it gives us a much better picture of whether the economy is growing or contracting, especially as it relates to the average American. Now, non-farm payrolls were expected to grow by 100,000 jobs in October. Unfortunately, they only rose by 12,000. Now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics stated that the devastation from Hurricane Helene and Milton were likely to blame for the lack of job creation over October, as well as labor strikes, most notably at Boeing. Biden came out and said, yeah, jobs are expected to rebound in November. Now, of course, this does make sense. Okay, the devastation that these hurricanes wrought in America certainly destroyed many businesses and hurt us economically, especially those severely affected areas. However, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the terrible response of government in this situation. Remember, the government is almost always terrible at accomplishing things that the private market can do quite well. Disaster response is one of those things. Private citizens are overwhelmingly willing to aid their fellow man in response to natural disasters. Take the example of Jordan Seidhom from South Carolina. a helicopter pilot who, in the aftermath of the hurricanes, undertook voluntary rescue missions into North Carolina's flooded areas. Despite successfully rescuing several individuals and delivering supplies, he was threatened with arrest if he continued to help. On top of this, he was slapped with a temporary flight restriction that grounded him. This is insane. This is just one example of how a private market solution could more effectively help those in desperate situations. There is plenty of willingness and cooperation among citizens to help out those who need it most, and the paltry response from our government has been appalling. Not to mention, our government can't even properly allocate funds to FEMA because something else the government is terrible at is saving money. Gosh, let me tell you, if they've got a bucket of cash sitting around that was designed to be held in reserve until it's needed, let me tell you, they are experts at reallocating those funds somewhere else. Getting back to the report, unemployment stayed at 4.1%, which was the estimate. However, again, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my many arguments about how the unemployment rate in the US is a terrible indicator of actual economic health. It is a common talking point nowadays to say something like, well, unemployment is under 5%, so actually the economy is good. This is nonsense, and another example of how to lie with statistics. Actual understanding of economics, context, and further exploration is required to actually get closer to something that resembles the truth. So unemployment rates only account for people actively looking for work. Lots of Americans have stopped looking for work due to discouragement or other reasons, so they're not included in the unemployment stats. This is almost never discussed, and this metric is known as labor force participation rate. It's the other side of the unemployment coin. Often, a low unemployment rate coincides with a low labor force participation rate, which, as you can imagine, paints a much less optimistic view of employment. Then there is the fact that many people are working part-time jobs because they can't find full-time positions. These are considered underemployed individuals, but guess what? They're counted as being employed even though they're not earning a sustainable wage. And the unemployment rate also doesn't reflect the quality of jobs people are working. Many are employed in low-wage, low-benefit jobs that offer no career advancement or stability. Also, unemployment rates vary widely by region, demographic, and industry. Lots of groups, like younger workers, specific sectors, and certain ethnic groups are still experiencing very high unemployment rates. And that's all masked by discussing and only talking about a broad national average. Remember, an average is another way to lie with statistics. There's also the rise of the gig economy, temporary government assistance programs, and shadow unemployment. All of these things combine to refute the notion that our unemployment rate is reflective of the real economy, or even the amount of unemployment that really is, or that things are good down here on the ground for most Americans. So I'd really wish Washington would just wake up and stop fudging the numbers. All right, let's lighten up, but in related news, I want to point out this great post from Ronin. He goes by RoninBTC over on Twitter. This one did help to make my day. And he says, in your teens, you assume most adults are intelligent. As you get older, you realize they are mostly, I don't want to get demonetized. In your early 20s, I don't even monetize these videos. In your early 20s, you assume people are intelligent based on if they have certain job roles. As you get older, you realize they are mostly, I still don't want to get demonetized. But this is just so true. When you're younger, authority and experience often seem to be indicators of wisdom or intelligence. But as you gain life experience, you see that intelligence, wisdom, and competence do not correlate with age, job, or any other superficial metric or factor. I've heard great words of wisdom from those who were in poverty when I worked with when I was in construction. And I've heard the most atrociously stupid things from economists, scientists, and experts. Okay? In the end, my advice to you, take everything with a big old grain of salt and just focus on living your life and bettering yourself. Look to get a little bit better every day and do not settle for surface explanations of things. Learn to dig a little deeper and think for yourself in all things. All right, next, we've got a great post from Miles Deutscher. Miles, great content creator over there on Twitter. So he says here, almost every single popular coin from 2017 is now irrelevant. This chart depicts how long altcoins have maintained their top 10 status. Lesson, this space moves fast. Remain adaptive, don't marry your bags, prioritize the new and shiny trends as they will likely outperform. So just great words of wisdom here from Miles Deutscher. Let me get this sized up here. Sorry about that. All right, that's the best I could get it. Now, his takeaway is that this market moves fast. I want to expand on that by saying that crypto is momentum based. If you want to play altcoins, you want to do your best to get in early. I mean, personally, I like to target market caps of around 1 to 5 million with an active and growing social media presence, abundance of memes, and one of the most important things, a committed community management presence. They got to have community managers or it's not going to grow. In a momentum-based market, you have to completely disabuse yourself of thoughts like, it will come back. This is just a pullback. Buy and hold. Those notions will get you wrecked. Now, don't misunderstand me. You do need to have the patience to wait for months, if not years sometimes, but that is not buy and hold mentality. The only thing I have buy and hold mentality on is Bitcoin, because that is the future of money. Everything else, for the most part, is a crapshoot. All right. The competition in this space is so ferocious. The pace of projects being produced only continues to accelerate. More devs, more tokens, more gimmicks, more giveaways, more airdrops, more. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So pick your winners, not too many. You can't really manage more than 5 positions effectively. I will tell you that from experience. Take profits slowly on the way up. Do not let them just be paper profits, but be patient if things are going well. But don't think you can just hold to infinity and beyond. If you're playing alts, you need to know going in that you're going to divest eventually, probably sooner rather than later. Because the odds of them being around in 5 years, 10 years? Yeah, right. It's not gonna happen. Now let's end on a lighter note of just how amazing the community notes feature can be on Twitter in combating misinformation, let's say. So let's talk about Poppy, or Mariah Rose Pereira. I think I got that right. She's an American singer, songwriter, and YouTube personality, and I didn't hear about her until this morning. She's got some, I checked it out. She's got some cool pop electronic music, and her YouTube videos are, they're kind of neat, I guess. She's an indie musician, and community notes have recently blasted her on Twitter for a take on Puerto Rico, which, of course, as you likely know, has become a contentious issue following Kill Tony's joke at Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. I do see here that she's a proud Jill Stein voter, which makes me think of the joke that I love to tell. You go up to the voting booth, you go to it's election day, and you go to vote, and without it, never misses. Somebody stops you and they're like, hey, have you heard of Jill Stein and the Green Party? And you're like, yeah, I have. Once every 4 years at the same time. I hear about her once every 4 years. Okay, not dissing Jill Stein. She's a great lady, but yeah. Anyways, look at me, like voting for the Libertarian Party. But now to preface this, if you're a strong Trump supporter, that's totally cool. That's good. But don't get tunnel visioned into not being able to laugh at someone's bad faith or stupid remarks. I've seen a lot of people supporting Poppy or coming to her defense, which they're more entitled to do, because they want to defend Tony's joke, which was funny, but that doesn't make Poppy's comments any less bad. And again, this isn't really to dig on Poppy. This situation is just so hilarious. It doesn't make this any less hilarious. So let's go over these tweets. Let's see how this is played out. Okay, so Poppy versus community notes. How it all started. All right, so Popbase posts that Bad Bunny has endorsed Kamala Harris, to which Poppy responded, he's not even American. To which community notes responded, Puerto Ricans are American citizens. Yes, they are. Then we move on to the accusations. To which Poppy responded to, community noting a comment is so effing weird. Oh my God, y'all are so obsessed with me. To which community notes responded, correction, we are not obsessed with you. We are just preventing the spread of misinformation. To which Poppy doubled down on by saying, my original comment is correct. He is not American. He is Puerto Rican. To which community notes responded once again, Puerto Ricans are American citizens. To which Poppy responded, hello, I guess apparently. To which Community Notes responded, although Puerto Ricans are unable to vote unless they gain residency in one of the 50 states, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, meaning anyone born there is a U.S. citizen, thus being American. Yes, this is common sense. Then the denial. All right. Poppy says, y'all aren't going to gaslight me. If you walk up to someone in Puerto Rico and ask them their nationality, are they going to say Puerto Rican or American? To which Community Notes responds, whether or not a Puerto Rican person would describe themselves as Puerto Rican does not negate the fact that they are U.S. citizens. This is so good. I hopefully you guys find this funny. This is the stuff that lights me up in the morning. All right. To which Poppy responds, y'all just want to leech off of America because we are the better country. You will never be American. To which Community Notes responds with, Puerto Rico is not an independent country. It is a commonwealth in an insular area of the United States. To which they then respond with official government links on this. All right. So then, of course, yes, you are all wrong. Okay. And sometimes they all are all wrong, right? All right. To which Poppy responds, Community Notes still on my dick. OMG. How does my dick taste? To which Community Notes responds, Community Notes cannot physically be on a dick. They are a feature on the X platform. All right, to which Poppy goes, these Community Notes people are trying to silence me from speaking the truth. Puerto Ricans are not Americans. To which Community Notes responds, Puerto Rico has been a U.S. territory since 1898, and Puerto Ricans were granted U.S. citizenship in 1917 through the John Shafroth Act. Comments like this highlight ongoing discrimination and misunderstanding about Puerto Rico's relationship with the United States. Cannot physically be on a dick. Oh. All right, to which now Poppy responds that she's going to contact her lawyers, that Community Notes is being weaponized, to which Community Notes responds, we don't participate in targeted harassment, we exist solely to combat misinformation. To which Poppy then says, please donate money to my Venmo on my profile to offset this loss because people don't like me because of what I'm saying. I need another source of income or else I might get evicted or worse, not have any money for food. To which Community Notes responds, while Poppy claims she may not have money for food, Poppy is known to order food delivery. Responding with the archive, less food delivery can help her food budget. A budget is the best way to save money. More archive posts. People also criticize others for food. Poppy also criticizes others for food, just big and greedy. To which Poppy posts this picture of her flipping off Community Notes, to which Community Notes responds with, the pick and OP is actually the shadow of a corn dog stabbed into a bell pepper. Not sideways. Oh, I love my love. I love my life. And she goes on to rail against Kamala Harris and then says that she's winning. To which Community Notes responds, OP is unfortunately not, in fact, winning. Objectively, she's been noted on 90% of her posts on the topic in several comments. Circumstantially, she has expressed distress, but has repeatedly asked the platform to intervene and claims to have sought legal counsel. And of course, you'll notice that the pinned post from Poppy says that, yeah, she's going offline for a while. Now, listen. Okay. I don't want this to become a political thing, all right? Because I staunchly defend Kill Tony's joke about Puerto Rico, all right? I staunchly defend humor. Free speech should be defended, and it's okay to add context, but it's not okay to be ignorant. So I've spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico, have friends in Puerto Rico. It's a beautiful place. It's where I proposed to my ex-wife. However, for sure, it, like all places, has its issues, okay? So just a reminder that it is completely fine to tell jokes. Jokes actually bring people closer together, but it's generally not okay to be blatantly ignorant on the internet. And I probably would have mentioned any of that, but it was just too funny. It's just too funny. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, right or left. If think critically, think for yourselves. All right. It's just funny. And we all need a little bit more laughter nowadays. We really do. All right, guys, that's all for today. And that brings this week to a close. I've got a birthday party to attend with my daughter, so wish me luck. Stay safe over the weekend. I will be back first thing Monday morning. Remember, if you are ready to stop gambling with your trading account and build a truly profitable long-term strategy. Join our Crypto Trading Academy. You'll learn to trade side by side with me, learn all my secrets, and learn to build your own systems-based trading strategy. Check out the link in the description if you're ready to learn. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, trade safely and stay frosty.